My name is Hannah Hakim. I am a fourth year student studying theater, musical theater, and acting for the screen. And welcome to Northwestern. So we can start over here. Northwestern University was founded in 1851 by Methodist ministers in what was then the Northwest Territory of the United States. Thankfully, since then, they have not changed our name from Northwestern to Midwestern, but they have changed our mascot from the Fighting Methodists to the Wildcats. So a little more daunting, depending on your opinion. We are currently in Evanston, Illinois, which is 2 miles north of the city limits and 12 miles north of the Chicago Loop, which is the Chicago cultural hub. What's really great about going to school in Evanston, but having Chicago less than 30 minutes away, is you reap the benefits of both going to school in a small college town and yet having all the benefits of going to school in a city. For example, Northwestern students get jobs, internships in Chicago, discounted tickets to movies, music festivals, concerts. There's so much theater downtown. There's improv, there's comedy, there's late night stand-up shows. There is so much to do in Chicago, and it is all less than 30 minutes away. Although there is so much to do in Chicago, I find I am rarely leaving Evanston and campus because there is even more to do here. Right now, we are in Evanston, which is the food capital of the North Shore. What that means pretty much is this is my fourth year in Evanston. I really love to eat, and I've yet to try all of the restaurants here, which I think speaks volumes to the amount of restaurants we do have. As well as having so restaurants downtown, there's a lot of community programming in Evanston. There's beer gardens, there's festivals. There's so much to do not only on campus, but also in Evanston. Right now, we are walking through the Sorority Quad. I like to say at Northwestern, we have Greek life if you want it, but it is also not here at all if you don't want it. For example, I rushed my freshman year. I was in a sorority all of my sophomore year. By the beginning of junior year, I realized I had too many commitments and I ended up dropping out of my sorority. And although freshman and sophomore year, my entire life was my sorority, by the time junior year came around, it was like Greek life didn't even exist on campus. We do have what is called deferred recruitment, though, so you do not rush a sorority or a fraternity until winter quarter of your freshman year. So it gives you a chance to figure out if Greek life is something you want to do, if you want to find that extra community on campus, but it does not dominate the social scene whatsoever. So again, we have Greek life if you want it. It is also not there at all if you don't want it. So we are walking through the sorority quads. These are a bunch of beautiful houses. They actually count as on-campus housing. So on campus, you do have to have a 2-year live-on requirement. While living on campus, you do have to be part of a meal plan. We have 6 dining halls here on campus. They are scattered all throughout campus, and we have what is called a swipe system. So once you swipe into a dining hall, you have unlimited access to all of the food there. So as a first year, when you are living on campus, you do have to have the unlimited meal plan. What that means is you get an unlimited amount of swipes per week. So you could wake up, swipe, get coffee, leave, swipe, get a banana, leave, swipe, get lunch, keep swiping all day long if you really want to. You have that option. Then as you get older, you get to kind of choose the meal plan you want, where you can have anywhere from unlimited amount of swipes per week to 0, depending if you live on campus, off campus, or not. So while living on campus, Northwestern really strives to give its students a residential experience. They really want students living on campus to have this sense of community and neighborhood while living on campus. So we have a system of what is called residential neighborhoods. We have about 18 residential halls on this campus that are scattered all throughout. We have one tucked away in there. We have a couple more coming up behind this sorority house. And they are clustered in what is called residential neighborhoods. A residential neighborhood is a cluster of 3 or so residential halls. And each residential hall kind of has their own facility. And if you live in that residential neighborhood, you do have access to all of the facilities in all of the residential halls. So for example, behind this building, we have 1838 Chicago, which has a gym and a kitchen. Diagonal to 1838 Chicago, we have Shepherd Hall, which has study spaces and egg chairs. And behind 1838 Chicago, we have Allison, which has a dining hall. If you live in any of those 3 residential halls, you do have access to all of the facilities in each of those. So if you live in 1838, which is actually coming up, it is right over there. If you live in 1838, you can use the study spaces and egg chairs in Shepherd. If you live in Allison, you can use the kitchen and gym in 1838. And it is a great way to foster that sense of community because you do start to recognize people as you go in and out of these residential halls. They are very close to each other, which is nice. But not only do you have access to all of the facilities, there's also so much community programming that happens in these residential halls. For example, there are weekly movie nights, there are weekly midnight munchies. My residential neighborhood, my freshman year, took us to the observatory downtown, and we had a formal. This residential neighborhood, my sophomore year, actually threw a gigantic carnival right on this lawn, just for residents of the residential neighborhood. And any community programming that goes on with any of these residential halls is open to everyone in the neighborhood. So it creates a sense of community because when you walk out of your dorm and walk around the area you live in, you see people you know, you see friendly faces. There's always someone to eat with in the dining hall if you want. Living on campus was really wonderful for me because of that community programming. And actually the people I met in my residential neighborhood my freshman year are the people I live with now. So it just goes to show how great the community programming we have here at Northwestern. This long road right here is Sheridan Road. Northwestern's campus is kind of like a long rectangle. So if you do hear me talk about North or South Campus, know that Northwestern's campus is just one long rectangle. It is about a mile long. It would take about 20 minutes to walk from the southernmost tip to the northernmost tip. It is a rectangle along the lake, and this road runs throughout the entire length of it, which is really, really great. If you look across the street, that is our Northwestern Arch. It is a staple of Northwestern, yet it is relatively new. It was gifted to us by the outgoing president in 1993, but now it is home to one of Northwestern's largest traditions called March Through the Arch. So as a first year, when you get to Northwestern, you gather as an entire class where we just were in front of 1838's lawn, and together you walk across the street and march through this arch with all of your parents standing around, cheering, crying, and taking pictures of you. And then as a senior, you walk back out through this arch at the end of your 4 years with all of your parents standing around, cheering, crying, and taking pictures. And it's a really great way to symbolize your entrance into Northwestern and then back out into the real world. I do look forward to walking back out through this arch in a couple of days with some of my friends. And it's just a really great tradition we do have at Northwestern. So in regards to academics at Northwestern, we are on a quarter system. Most of the questions I get about Northwestern's academics while on a tour is about the quarter system, so I can give you a brief rundown. A quarter system is 10 weeks of classes, plus an 11th week, which is a finals week, and then a break of some kind. So we have 4 quarters at Northwestern. We have fall quarter, which starts mid to late September, runs 10 weeks of classes, an 11th week, which is a finals week, and then you have winter break starting in mid-December. Then you have winter quarter from early January to late March. Then you have spring break, spring quarter from early April to mid-June, and then you have summer break. Or if you would like to take summer classes, we do have a summer quarter that ranges anywhere from 2 to 10 weeks. The summer quarter is not mandatory at all. You do not have to take summer classes in order to graduate. I only knew one person that has taken a summer class over summer quarter, and that was because they wanted to get done with organic chemistry over the summer instead of taking it all year. So the main difference between a quarter system and a semester school is the amount of classes you take. At a semester school, you take on average about 5 classes a semester, which is 10 classes a year, and 40 classes by the time you graduate. Where at a quarter system school, it is on average 4 classes a quarter, 12 classes a year, and 48 classes by the time you graduate. So you do take on average about 8 more classes during your collegiate experience at Northwestern and at a quarter system than you would at a semester school. And those 8 classes really do make a difference. They allow you to dive deeper into your major. It allows you to explore other passions you may have, pick up other certificates. If you talk to Northwestern students and ask what they're majoring in, you'll often hear they have either multiple majors or they have a major with multiple minors and certificates. Sometimes none of them have anything to do with the other. It's because of that flexibility we get with the quarter system by taking more classes. It allows you to delve deep into other passions you have and get deeper into your major or minor, and you're able to add that certificate or take that class you really want. Right here is a really large Northwestern staple. This weird blob looking thing is very creatively known as the Northwestern Rock. But under more than 6 inches of paint, it's actually a beautiful fountain. It was gifted to us by the outgoing class of 1902, and it once sat in the middle of this plaza, once called Fountain Plaza, now called Rock Plaza. But a couple years after they got the fountain, they forgot to turn the pipes off one winter, and the pipes froze, rendering the fountain useless. So they just kind of pushed the fountain off to the side and put this very ineffective wall around it. In the 50s, a group of freshmen woke up in the middle of the night and they painted on this fountain saying, "Freshmen rule, seniors drool." The seniors really weren't happy about it. But 4 years later, those freshmen woke up again and they painted on the rock, "Seniors rule, freshmen drool," and thus started the Northwestern Rock tradition. Anyone can paint this rock as long as you go to Northwestern, but there are 2 rules. One, you must guard the rock for a full 24 hours before painting it. So there are often tents set up outside. There are people with speakers desperately trying to hype themselves up by hour 20. And the second rule is you must paint it in the dead of night. So it is really fun coming to campus on a Monday and the rock is green. On Tuesday, it's purple. On Wednesday, it's pink. It is constantly changing. If you are ever extremely bored at home and you're wondering what color the rock is today, feel free to Google Northwestern Rock Cam. There is a camera on this rock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you look at the wire going up University Hall, it actually leads to a camera. So if you were wondering what color the rock is today, feel free to Google it, I guess. But moving on, this is University Hall. It is the oldest building on this campus. This actually used to house the entire, every class, every professor's office was in this building, which is just a fun fact. It's a very pretty building. Coming up, this weird, funky orange building is Annie Mae Swift. That building actually used to be home to the entirety of the School of Communication, which brings me to the arts. But first off, let me mention that there are 6 schools at this university. There's the Medill School of Journalism. There's the School of Communication, like I said. There's the McCormick School of Engineering. There's CESP, which is School of Education and Social Policy. There's Beanan School of Music. And there's Weinberg School of Arts and Sciences, which is home to our liberal arts classes. So this orange building used to be home to the entirety of the School of Communication. So that is dance, theater, radio, TV, and film, and then other communications majors as well. So in this building, it's where Stephen Colbert took classes. It's where Seth Meyers classes. But speaking of radio, TV, and film, besides extracurriculars, it is a really great program. It is not conservatory. So what that means is you do not just pick one medium and you stick with it. You graduate with a radio, TV, and film major. So you really get to make the major what you want of it. We have screenwriting classes. We have acting for the screen classes. We have cinematography classes, sound editing classes, sound production classes, design classes, camera classes. We have rom-com classes, horror classes, any classes you can think of, the radio, TV, and film program is bound to have. What is really great is not only are you getting that liberal arts education, but you also are getting the hands-on conservatory style training you would get without going to a conservatory school. So not only are you in a classroom learning about the history of film, but you are taking classes where you are on your feet, making films for class, editing films for class, sound mixing for class. You really do get that hands-on production with it, as well as learning about it in a classroom. Not only do you get that hands-on technical skills from your classrooms, but you also get it in your extracurriculars. The radio, TV, and film extracurriculars here are really phenomenal. Not only do we have the Blackout, that late night talk show, I keep saying, that we have here at Northwestern, we also have NSTV, which is a sketch comedy group, a TV show. They film a bunch of small sketches and write a bunch of small sketches every year, and they have a premiere at the end of the year. That is always really fun. There are so many student films going on all the time, whether through grants with the university or applying to student film boards such as Studio 22. Students are constantly producing their films. So even if you choose not to major in radio, TV, and film, you can still get involved by joining the radio channel that Northwestern has for its students or working on student sets. All of our student sets are completely student directed, student produced, student filmed, student acted in. You often see so many students lugging film equipment out of that building over there because that is our radio, TV, and film building. They do have extremely nice equipment for you to rent as well. So there is no need for you to have to for you to have to buy the equipment as well. Sorry about the noise. There's a lot of gardening going on, which is nice. Right here is the Virginia Wadsworth Work Center for the Performing Arts. This is our theater building. So very similarly to the radio, TV, and film department, our theater is a non-conservatory style program. But what is really great about it is not only do you get this liberal arts education, but once again, you do get that conservatory style training that you would normally not get in a Bachelor of Arts school. So one thing I forgot to mention is it is a Bachelor of Arts you will be graduating with if you study theater, dance, or radio, TV, and film, whereas in a conservatory, it would be a Bachelor of Fine Arts. But the Bachelor of Arts program at Northwestern allows you to pursue and learn about so many different mediums of theater. We have classes in acting, we have classes in musical theater, we have playwriting classes, we have theater management classes, we have design classes, stage management classes, production classes, so many different realms of theater. We have those classes here. What I personally really love about the theater program is I'm never sitting at a desk learning about material. I'm always on my feet applying what we are learning in a class to real life materials. So for example, last quarter I was in a scene painting class. Not only was I learning about the history of scene painting, but I was on my feet attempting very poorly to also be painting my own scene painting. We do also have a 2-year acting sequence at Northwestern. So what is really unique about it, which I really love, is you get one acting teacher and you stay with the same group of kids all throughout your sophomore year and all throughout your junior year. And that's the group you take acting with. So it really becomes this studio kind of class, and each teacher has their own different method of theater, of teaching acting. So what's really great is everyone at Northwestern is getting a different education in acting as well. So we do have the acting sequence if you decide to pursue acting. That is very hands-on, conservatory style because you are learning about different methods. You are on your feet. We also have a really great playwriting program. One of the best classes I think at Northwestern is our playwriting sequence class. It is a full year-long class where you actually start the class with writing and pitching ideas, and by the end of the year, you have an entire play that you can present. So again, what's really great about the theater program here and what I really love about it and what I think sets it apart from other schools is not only are you getting this liberal arts education, but you are getting hands-on conservatory style training as well. All along here are 2 of our theaters at Northwestern. There are 6 main stages that happen at Northwestern. They are 2 musicals, usually 4 plays, as well as there are 2 children productions as well. Northwestern has one of the top theater for young audiences program. The classes here are really remarkable. Our children's shows always sell out because they are so big in the community. As well as having those main stages, we also have over 80 student theater productions a year. We have a organization called STUCO, which is the Student Theater Coalition. It is set up very much like the Chicago Storefront Theater. So there are 8 theater companies, which are each kind of like their own theater boards, and they all specialize in a different kind of theater, whether that's classical theater, student new work, musicals, theater for young audiences, experimental theater, devised theater, every kind of theater at Northwestern. Every single kind of theater that exists in the world exists at Northwestern. And because we have so many student theater productions a year, you do not have to major in theater to get involved. They are all completely student directed, student produced, student acted, student built, student stage managed, student everything. So they're always looking for students to be involved. Another great thing I love about the art scene at Northwestern is you do not even have to be in the arts to be affected by the arts, because most of the entertainment that happens this weekend comes out of this art circle right here. We have a really, really phenomenal improv program at Northwestern. We have some improv classes, but most of the improv training you end up getting is through our extracurriculars because our improv extracurriculars are so phenomenal. We have all different kinds of improv groups ranging from short sketch improv group to long form improv to musical improv. If you know Chicago at all, you know we have Second City down, which is a theater to SNL. So a lot of students that want to be professional comedians end up coming through Northwestern and going to our improv program. So what's really great is you get to see the kids before they're famous do for free, which is really fun, and I can't wait to see who's famous out of it. But not only do we have a great improv scene, we also have 14 plus student a cappella groups. I know a lot of students like to say that a lot of schools like to say that Pitch Perfect is modeled after their a cappella scene, but a producer of Pitch Perfect did go to Northwestern, and our a cappella scene is eerily similar to Pitch Perfect's. So I like to say Pitch Perfect was based on the a cappella scene here. There are some very intense a cappella groups. A cappella is taken very seriously at Northwestern. But if you really love singing, but you're not the greatest at it, and you don't want to necessarily commit multiple hours a week to rehearsal, we do have a group called the Mediocres, which is a group of mediocre singers. They gather together and they perform mediocre a cappella, and I've heard it's a great time. So if you want to get involved with a cappella, you also have that. Right here is the Stagger Concert Hall. It was named not only one of the best concert halls in Chicago, but one of the best concert halls in the Midwest. They are constantly bringing professional orchestras, professional speakers, professional bands, as well as so many students get to perform on the stage. It is really beautiful. Right here, we have the Mary and Lee Block Museum of Art. It is a free art museum for students. They're constantly bringing in new exhibits. So not only can you learn about different art, but you can always come to the Mary and Lee Block Museum of Art and interact with it yourself. So there are so many opportunities here to interact with art, whether that is on the weekends going to try and see 5 shows every weekend because you have friends in every single one, or to coming to the Block Museum, or going to see special guests in the Stagger Concert Hall. Speaking of extracurriculars, we also have a very, very, very phenomenal, we have many dance groups at Northwestern. We have a group that does tap, we have hip hop groups, we have lyrical groups, almost every different kinds of dance you can think of. We have groups for them here. I never was a fan of watching dance until I came to Northwestern and I saw the dancers at Northwestern, and some of the shows I've seen here, the dance shows, have been some of the best shows I have ever seen. They're so much fun and students get really hyped for them. They are always a blast. We also have a dance program at Northwestern. It is in the School of Communication, tucked away in our theater building. We offer a bunch of different dance classes. We offer choreography classes. We offer improv dance classes, musical theater dance, ballet, jazz, modern. Also a fun class called, I believe it's called Stomp, but it's really, really great, and I heard it's a blast. Over here, this beautiful building is called the SS Beanin. It is actually just the Beanin School of Music. A lot of students call it the SS Beanin, though, because it looks like a huge cruise ship sailing along Lake Michigan. This is home to our Beanin School of Music. This is a conservatory program, so you do have to audition for it. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention about the School of Theater, because theater, dance, and radio, TV, and film are not conservatory programs, you do not have to audition for them whatsoever. You apply normally like you would to any other school at Northwestern. The only program in theater you do have to audition for is our musical theater program, but you do not audition for that program until fall quarter of your freshman year. They take about 25 to 30 students, and they offer a really great program that is, again, once, I believe, conservatory level training. You are constantly on your feet, singing, getting feedback, as well as taking music theater theory classes and music history classes as well. What is really great about the theater program is we also offer 2 showcases at the end of your senior year. We have a New York showcase that happens spring break during your senior year, and a Chicago showcase, which would have happened last week for seniors at Northwestern. And it's a great way to interact with industry professionals right before you go out into the real world. So back to the Beanin School of Music. It is a conservatory program, so that means you do pick a certain medium focus in, and that's the medium you study. So you will end up majoring in vocal performance, instrument performance, music education, music composition, because it is that conservatory program. But do not fret, because if you do want to get involved with music, but you do not want to major in it, we do once again have so many music extracurriculars. Like I said, we do have a cappella groups, but we also have so many orchestras, bands you can audition for, choirs, chorales, any kind of singing groups through the Beanin School of Music. You can be involved and take classes in any of our arts buildings, even if you are not a major in it, which is really great. It is open to the entire university. Because Beanin is a conservatory program, know that if you do want to double major, not in the Weinberg School of Arts and Sciences, if you want to double major with any other school, it is a dual degree program. It is a 5-year program because you will be graduating with 2 separate degrees. So that is a big distinction between the Beanin School of Music and the Theater and Radio and TV film departments, because you will not be graduating with 2 separate degrees if you choose to pursue theater, dance, or radio, TV, and film. If you do want to study at the Beaton School of Music, though, I really recommend hopefully coming out here or virtually touring the Beaton School of Music. It is one of the prettiest buildings I think I've ever seen in my entire life. The concert hall is actually this huge cinder block right here, and although it looks stunning from the outside, if you go inside, the entire backdrop is actually glass, and all you see is this beautiful landscape of Chicago, so students get to perform in front of that. So this is Chicago, like I was saying, and I think this is really beautiful. So I think this is a perfect way to wrap up my tour at Northwestern. So if you do choose to apply to Northwestern, know there is a supplemental essay, and that supplemental essay is why Northwestern. So students really like to finish our tours explaining our own personal why Northwesterns. So when I was applying to schools, I had no idea what I wanted. I applied to way too many schools. I knew I wanted theater, but I didn't know what kind of theater. I realized pretty shortly I did not want a conservatory program. I wanted to continue my education while still getting that conservatory style training. I was able to get training at Northwestern that I feel confident leaving Northwestern to go into the professional world, because I do believe I have the skill set and the tools to succeed in theater. But when I decided to come to Northwestern, it wasn't just the theater program that sold me. It was really the passion that exists on this campus. And I truly didn't realize that until I came to Northwestern. The students are so overly involved with everything, not because we like to overload themselves, but it's truly because we have so many passions that we want to be able to partake in. I believe I learned just as much from the extracurriculars at Northwestern that I did from the academics at Northwestern, just because students take their extracurriculars so seriously here because they have such a deep passion for it. The student theater companies, the films produced at Northwestern, the choirs at Northwestern, the a cappella groups at Northwestern, all very much seem like professional caliber organizations. And that's simply because the students completely love what they're doing. You could sit down with any student at Northwestern and they will talk your ear off for hours if you let them, because they love what they're learning. They love what they're being able to do at Northwestern. Not only are the students really passionate at Northwestern, the professors are really passionate as well. You can ask any professor here to grab coffee, give you life advice, career advice. Many have given me auditions, internships, job opportunities. Just because I asked, the answer from them will always be yes. They will always sit down with you. Their main priority is not only to teach you what you need to succeed once you leave Northwestern, but to build personal relationships and to be able to help you completely. So my why Northwestern is simply because the passion that exists here on this campus. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you can make it out here one day, because this is beautiful. Thank you so much.